For centuries, democracy has been treated almost like a sacred idea. People speak of it with the same reverence that previous ages reserved for religion. We praise it as humanity's greatest political achievement, we build monuments to it, we defend it passionately. We assume that more democracy automatically means a better society. And because democracy was born in ancient Athens, we have learned to romanticize Athens as well. The marble columns of the Parthenon have become symbols of freedom. Politicians travel there to take photographs and deliver speeches about human dignity and popular rule. We look at ancient Greece and imagine a civilization that discovered the perfect way to govern itself. But there is an uncomfortable fact most people never hear. The very civilization that invented democracy also produced some of its fiercest critics. And the greatest critic of all was one of its greatest thinkers, Socrates. The man often called the father of Western philosophy did not look at democracy with admiration. He looked at it with deep suspicion. To Socrates, democracy contained a dangerous flaw that few people were willing to acknowledge. It assumed that every opinion deserved equal political weight. And he believed that assumption could destroy a society. In Plato's Republic, Socrates presents a simple thought experiment. Imagine a ship preparing to cross a violent sea. A storm is approaching, the waves are rising. Lives depend upon the decisions made on board. Now ask yourself a question. Who should command the vessel? Would you choose someone who understands navigation, weather patterns, tides, currents, and the mechanics of sailing? Or would you gather every passenger and allow them to vote for whoever gives the most persuasive speech? The answer seems obvious. No sane person would hand control of a ship to someone chosen merely because they were popular. Competence matters, knowledge matters. Training matters, yet Socrates asks, why do we abandon this logic the moment the subject becomes politics? Why do we believe governing a nation requires less expertise than steering a ship? A country is infinitely more complicated than a vessel. Its decisions affect millions of lives. Its mistakes can trigger wars, economic collapse, and social ruin. And yet we often treat political judgment as though it requires no preparation whatsoever. Socrates believed voting was not an instinct, it was a skill. And like every skill, it required education, discipline, and intellectual effort. A person would never claim expertise in medicine after watching a few conversations. They would never call themselves an architect after looking at several buildings. Yet people routinely form strong political opinions after a few headlines, a viral video, or an emotional speech. For Socrates, this was madness. He feared a society where citizens possessed immense political power, but very little understanding of how to use it. His fear was not theoretical. He experienced it personally. In 399 BC, Socrates was accused of corrupting the youth of Athens and disrespecting the city's gods. The charges were weak, the evidence was thin. But a jury of hundreds of ordinary citizens voted anyway. By a narrow margin, they found him guilty. Then they sentenced him to death. The man who had spent his life teaching people how to think was executed through a democratic process. Athens had spoken, and Athens was wrong. This experience reinforced a lesson that would echo through centuries of political philosophy. Large groups of people are not automatically wise, a majority can be mistaken, a crowd can become emotional. A population can be manipulated. Truth does not become true because many people believe it. Socrates was not arguing that power should belong exclusively to aristocrats. He was not defending inherited privilege. He was not saying ordinary people were worthless. His argument was more unsettling. He believed political influence should be connected to intellectual maturity, not wealth, not family background, not social status, wisdom. The problem is that modern societies have largely forgotten this distinction. We defend universal voting rights, and rightly so, but we rarely ask whether citizens are being educated to use those rights responsibly. We assume participation alone is enough. Socrates believed it was not. A democracy without wisdom becomes vulnerable to a particular kind of figure, the demagogue. The person who tells people exactly what they want to hear. The person who offers certainty where reality is complex. the person who transforms difficult problems into simple slogans. Athens knew these people well. One of the most famous was Alcibiades, handsome, charismatic, brilliant at public speaking, skilled at winning admiration, and disastrously reckless. He helped drag Athens into catastrophic military adventures that weakened the city and accelerated its decline. Yet people followed him because he was exciting, because he was confident. Because confidence often looks like competence to an uninformed audience. This was precisely what terrified Socrates. He understood something about human psychology that remains painfully relevant today. Most people do not naturally choose the person who tells the truth. They choose the person who makes them feel good. To illustrate this, Socrates imagined an election between two candidates. One is a doctor, the other owns a sweet shop. The sweet shop owner promises pleasure, unlimited desserts, no restrictions, no unpleasant sacrifices. The doctor offers something different: discipline, bitter medicine, lifestyle changes, difficult truths. Who wins? The sweet shop owner points at the doctor and says, "This person causes you pain, he denies your desires. He tells you what you cannot have. He makes your life less enjoyable." Then he points to himself, "I offer pleasure, I offer comfort, I offer everything you want." The crowd cheers. The doctor tries to explain, "I inconvenience you because I want you to become healthier. My restrictions exist because I care about your future." But the explanation sounds cold compared to the promises of the sweet shop owner. And so the voters choose pleasure over wisdom, fantasy over reality, comfort over truth. More than 2,000 years later, little has changed. Modern politics is often less a contest of ideas than a contest of emotional seduction. Candidates compete to tell voters what they already want to hear. Complexity is hidden, nuance disappears. Hard truths become political suicide. The result is exactly what Socrates predicted. A society increasingly governed by sweet shop owners. Leaders skilled at selling hope, outrage, fear, and desire. Leaders who understand marketing better than governance. Leaders who master attention rather than wisdom. This does not mean democracy is worthless. It means democracy is fragile. Its success depends not merely on the right to vote, but on the capacity to think. A healthy democracy requires educated citizens, intellectual humility, and a willingness to hear uncomfortable truths. Without these things, democracy can become a machine for rewarding popularity rather than competence. Socrates understood this long before the age of television, social media, and algorithmic manipulation. His warning remains disturbing because it forces us to confront a possibility we would rather avoid. The greatest threat to democracy may not come from its enemies. It may come from the ignorance of its supporters. And if that is true, then the future of democracy depends less on counting votes than on cultivating wisdom in those who cast them.